everybody does stuff boring. They just follow what everybody else is doing. So in the world of wire wrapping, everybody takes a stone and they wrap it and then they put it on a cord or chain, and that's it. They just make the pendant, and the cord or chain is kind of arbitrary. Or another way they do it is they add a whole bunch of beads, a beaded necklace like that, and then it might have a pendant, or it just might be the beads by itself. But there's so many other options for what you can do with the necklace. I mean, I did a video on this one just to be weird and fun and whatever, and now it's my favorite necklace. But I'm going to show you something simple you can do, really simple, just to spice up an otherwise simple wire wrapped pendant. This is a cool cabochon that was carved and shaped by my friend Vincent from Vincent's Rock Garage, and I'm going to wrap it for somebody else who requested it. So let's do that first. I'm going to keep it simple. I just found some beads that match this particular stone. Just some gray, some marbled gray, and some black, and that's it. We're just going to make 2 side pieces, but it's going to add so much more interest to the finished necklace. Simplest thing ever. Take a piece of wire, put your beads on it, and this is just making a loop in a loop. It's super easy. Bend a little bit less than a centimeter, or like 1/3 of an inch, and then roll it backwards with the round nose pliers. That's it. Press the beads up against it, turn it right angle. This time cut off about the same amount you used to make the other loop, and again roll it backwards. Readjust for good body mechanics so you don't wrench your wrist, and make it tight up against the bead. You can do the same thing with a twist. Make your first loop same as before, but leave a long strand on the other side and then bend it. This time don't cut it. Take your round nose, hold it like that, wrap it around the round nose, roll them into place until the loops match each other in size, and then keep holding it with your round nose pliers. Take the strand from far back here, very gentle sweeping motion, wrap it around the back, and then come diagonal across the bead, and then let it fall into the crevice behind it, and then diagonal across the next bead, and then let it fall into the crevice behind there. You can keep going. You could stack up a bunch of beads and do this in one piece, but 2 is good for me. And then just come around and give him a little mini scarf right there. Get in real tight and cut just the tiniest little end to tuck in. Make sure it doesn't scratch, it's tucked good. Voila. Now I'm using a heavier gauge for this part. This is 18 gauge, but actually 16 would be even better. You have to be careful with these little sculptural parts because you don't want them to be flimsy where they can be stretched and unraveled. You do want the necklace to be able to hold some weight and be susceptible to somebody getting their hand or a piece of hair caught on it and yanking it. So if it doesn't survive the yank test, or you give it a good tug, it doesn't stay tight, then find a different way to do it. I'm just going to do a very small swirl. A big swirl can come undone more easily, so I'm going to do a very small swirl. I'm just going to take about 2.5 inches, which is like 6 centimeters. Make sure they're the same size. Yep, about perfect. I'm going to grab it right in the middle with the round nose pliers and roll it around both sides like that. Actually, we're going to go up even higher. I want these really tight. Tight little tiny guys, and just get the flat nose and flatten them out just in case. And that's good enough for me. These are already going to be a little more flimsy than I would like, but pulling on them and they seem pretty tight right now, so let's go with it. Now we're just going to roll a loop backwards. That. And another loop. I feel like this one came out a little bit longer on that side. All right. Give that the pull test. It's actually pretty strong. All right, we'll go with it. Let's just don't use this necklace in any kind of gladiator fighting, because I don't know if it's that strong. Even alternating the size of the jump rings can have a huge impact. And you can still add chain at the end for the part that is mostly hidden behind the neck. Adding some jump rings at the end will also make it adjustable to different lengths if you have a lobster clasp. And one last thing, even though we don't see the back too much, add a cute little dangly part in the back, and people who wear it and own this necklace will appreciate it so much because it's just such a nice little touch that most necklaces don't have. So be off! Go and make a necklace or necklaces with super cool side pieces and all kinds of variations and fun stuff. Go now! Turn off the video. What are you waiting for? But if you do want to know how I wire wrapped that particular stone, you can just hang out right here and I'll explain that now. This is 20 gauge vintage bronze from Pairwire. Let's take about 3 feet. That's my standard that I like to take, about a meter. I'm going to put the two ends together and then slide it down till I can find the middle. And then I'm going to wrap the middle around this paintbrush. You can use a pen, but I find pens make it a little bigger than you want. A paintbrush is often skinnier. It has just the right size that I like for a bail. 2 or 3 times is plenty. And then give it a little twist to lock it in. Maybe a twist and a half. Voila. Sometimes I like to just smooth the wire out. It might be a little jangly after coming off the spool. Also, you're adding heat to it if you do this a few times, and that softens it up a tiny bit. This particular cabochon does not have a hole drilled, so we're going to wrap it like so. I'm going to start from the back, and come around like this, and like this, holding everything in place tightly until it gets locked in, since there's no hole to anchor it. And I'm going to do a swirl coming around like that, still holding everything in place because it keeps wanting to pull away every time you do a movement. Making it tight, pushing it back down. It keeps wanting to pop off the stone, and then I'm going to separate the strands a little bit and do like a controlled curve back and forth, like they're two ice skaters. They kind of separate and they come back together. But I want it to start out kind of together and then kind of move apart as they come further down the stone. So kind of manipulate that a little bit. That, and then I'm going to have them really separate at the bottom. So this is going to come around that side and that's going to come around that side. Now here is the important part. Come across the back, still holding everything very tight. We're going to twist this 2 or 3 times like that. Put its strands together. You can separate and put them together, it doesn't matter, but the key thing is we're going to come straight up here and wrap around our bail. Just wrap around once, but very tight, and that locks the whole thing in place. Now it's a locked stone. Everything is in place. It's a little wobbly, but it's pretty strong. I could end it right there. I could just wrap it a few times around the bail, cut off the ends, tuck them in, and that would be done. But I want to make it a little stronger, and I want to have a little more fun with the pattern. So let's see, what else can I do here? I'm going to come back down, and let's see, what do I want to do? I don't want to get too busy, but I want to give it something a little more interesting. So I'm going to come back with this right here. This one is going to come down, but just right to here. And is that looking too busy yet? Oh, almost it is looking too busy, so let's try something else. Kind of like that. And so I'm going to come over here and do a little loop-de-loop. Again, the strands are kind of separate, and then they're together, and then they're separate, and then they're together, and I like that look. And come around the back, again, this is locking it against the stone tighter and tighter each time we do a movement like this. And I don't want to obscure my cool first swirl. I do want to come back around to the front, so I'm going to carefully try to edge around that swirl without really touching it like that. And this is going to lock in this bail from the front because we already locked it in from the back. The more directions you come across a stone when you're wrapping, the more tighter you can hold it in place. Now I'm starting to scarf it. I'm just stacking the wraps up like that until it's as high as I want, and that's plenty. So I'm going to come around the back once more, cut strands halfway across this loop, tuck them deep in that little bowl I made with the scarf. First, just press them so they're hovering over the bowl, and then turn and push them, pinch them diagonally deep in so they disappear. They never scratch anyone, and the piece will not come unraveled. So here is our pattern, and now do we like it? We press it tighter against the stone in places, we adjust it in places we want to adjust it. That's kind of loose, I want to tighten that down. Crimping. Crimping is a great way to tighten things. I'm going to tighten this too. Let's crimp. Crimp. Now we look back in the front. Did our crimping mess up any of the pattern? Did it pull anything away from where we want it? Usually you can push it back, but you got to check that, see if it's what you want. I pretty much like how that turned out. Maybe I can move that swirl a little bit further down. Yeah, I like that better. Now it's not so close up against there. I kind of want everything balanced. Like I want all of my little patterns to be kind of cover the stone evenly, not too much, not boring, but not overly busy. And the back is good. Is there anything else we could crimp to make it even tighter? Carefully, not pulling anything out of place in the front because now everything's where we want it. That looks good. I want this to have more of a curve. I'm just going to take my fingernail and just kind of bend it into a better curve there. All right, I like that. That's good.